Welcome to the place where we learn about improv. Cause public speaking can take you so far. Improvly speaking, say yes and flex your creative thinking. Improvly speaking, say yes and flex your creative thinking.
Welcome, everyone, to the first episode of the Improvly Speaking podcast. Say yes and flex your creative thinking. Yeah, don't worry, I won't do that all the time, but I hope that jingle is stuck in your head now for the rest of the day, the night, the week, the month, the year. And all I have to say to that is you're welcome. You are welcome for that fantastic jingle. I want to give a shout out to the jingle lady for creating that amazing jingle that is now stuck in your head. If you want to create a jingle for your podcast, YouTube channel, for whatever you're doing, please check her out at the jingle lady _ on Instagram. Fantastic. I'm so pleased and excited for that. It's awesome. And I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you for saying yes and to listening to this podcast about improv, public speaking, communication, performance, creativity, and everything in between. I know that is a lot of things that we're talking about and focusing on, but why not say yes and jump in, get out of your comfort zone, break through those roadblocks. We're going to do it all here on this podcast. And I'm so happy that you've joined me on this journey. Today is my first solo episode recording, and it's also my first episode for this season, for this series. And today I want to share with you my journey and how I went from generally speaking to improvly speaking. Really, I should say terribly speaking more than generally speaking, but I'm trying to keep the self-deprecating humor to a minimum, which we'll see how that goes. I also will share with you why I want to start this improvly speaking podcast. Yes, I know everyone and their mom has a podcast. I actually wrote a comedy sketch on that. And so, yeah, I know there's so many podcasts about improv and public speaking out there. Why another one? Well, why not? Say yes, and I'll talk more about that in a little bit. And then finally, I'll share what the heck improvly speaking actually means to me and why I came up with that term and that phrase. Yes, I know improvly is not a word, but it is now. It's out there and it's happening. So just get used to it. And I kind of like it. Actually, I really like it, especially when it's in that jingle. So without further ado, let me jump in and tell you a little bit about my story, my public speaking journey and improv journey. So it all started with the D.A.R.E program. Yes, the Drug Abuse Resistance Education program that was done in the 80s and 90s. I actually think it's still around today, but hopefully they've revamped the curriculum a bit. But it all started with the D.A.R.E program in 5th grade. So that had to be 1998, I think, around that time, late 90s. And what they did is they ended their curriculum with a D.A.R.E graduation ceremony, where I can only assume that we stood in front of our parents and said, I will never do drugs or drink alcohol ever. And our parents get so proud and they're like, yes, they're saved. They're on their way, when, that doesn't really happen. But for the D.A.R.E graduation ceremony, they had an MC. For our school, they wanted to do 2 MCs, 1 boy, 1 girl. They held tryouts for this MC position, this MC role. And listen, okay, growing up as a little kid, as a teenager, I was very quiet. I was very shy as a kid. I had low self-esteem. I did not like the way I looked. I can remember being self-aware and hating my looks since I was like in kindergarten or 1st grade. I went to Catholic schools and I remember praying at night to God and saying, please, 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 God, can I wake up in the morning and not have freckles on my face? I hated my freckles. I did not like the way I looked. And that really followed me for a while. And I think that's what led to me being quiet. I didn't like having all eyes on me, didn't like being the center of attention, which is interesting because I am an only child. So I definitely go against the stereotype of only children who want all the attention and it's all about them. I was very much the opposite. Don't look at me, don't talk to me, please. Just let me be here, do my thing. And now with my friends, I was more open and not shy, not quiet. All my friends knew that, but just getting to know me, I was super quiet, reserved. And so the idea of wanting to be an MC for a graduation ceremony is interesting because it didn't fit. And so this D.A.R.E graduation ceremony was really my chance to show my peers and my friends that I am not this shy, quiet, goody two shoes girl. All right. And listen, I did not get my name on the board, which was our form of discipline. If you were being rude or unruly, you got your name on the board. I think I might have gotten my name on the board 3 times in school, all through my elementary, middle school career. And I probably cried every time I did, or went to the bathroom to cry to try to hide it. So I was very quiet. To step out into this MC role was huge for me. And I thought, okay, I'm going to show them that I'm really this cool person because only cool people get to be the MCs of their D.A.R.E graduation, right? I don't know. The logic there is a little off, but I really wanted to go for this and I made a point to do it. So I can remember they were doing the tryouts with the girls and we had a script to read. And I'm just like, I'm going to go 100%. This is all I want. And I get up there and I am like, I mean, just, I call it a wannabe cheerleader. I mean, like probably my head's shaking in excitement. My arms are shaking in excitement. I mean, I'm all over the place, but it's a lot. I mean, I bring the energy more than the other people. So I get the role, which is amazing. And I'm so excited. And, in my mind, I'm thinking like, oh, it was like weeks that we practiced. No, we probably got casted, quote unquote, casted as the MCs. And then like the next day or the 2 days later, we had the D.A.R.E graduation ceremony. So it probably wasn't that much practice time. I do remember the day. I had my index cards in hand. We walk up to the microphone. I can picture this gym. I can picture where the parents were sitting. I mean, I still have this layout in my head. And I get up there, again, index cards in hand, and I freeze. I feel the weight of the audience's eyes looking at me. I feel the weight of the moment, this big moment that I've made up in my head that's going to be this big moment of my quote unquote big break, my time to shine and not be this quiet girl. And I just blow it. I get shaky. I get nervous. My face gets red. I'm sure of it. My voice is just trembling. It's all in all just not a good show, right? I mean, we get through it. We probably only have a few lines. Let's be clear. Like, this is not Ryan Seacrest hosting American Idol. Like, this is 2 fifth graders hosting a D.A.R.E graduation ceremony. So, we probably have a few lines here and there. We say a few things, then do a little song and dance, and then come back later. But that was the moment where it was like, oh, I don't like public speaking. I don't like all eyes on me. And I really think that followed me. I can remember in middle school in 8th grade, we had to give a verbal report on our research paper, which I did a research paper on flamingos. So that kind of shows you the hard-hitting topics that they allowed us to choose. Flamingos were my favorite animal, and I wanted to do a research paper on them. So I wrote 5 pages, all the sources cited on flamingos. And I can remember doing that report in front of the class and standing on one leg. And I don't remember feeling nervous there. Maybe I was, but I remember actually enjoying that because I got to stand on one leg and tell people why flamingos are pink because they eat a lot of shrimp. And so, maybe my love for flamingos just transcended all fear and anxiety of public speaking. That is the only memory I have where I wasn't nervous speaking. In high school, it really followed me. I hated doing presentations, which we didn't have to do a lot in high school, thank goodness. But I just remember just wanting to avoid them. I actually had a friend, Caitlin, who really hated public speaking. And I remember being surprised at this because she was always making little mixtapes and videos and stuff. And she was really creative and she'd like to sing. And so seeing her be really afraid of public speaking, I was like, if she's afraid, then oh my God, I hate it too. But she would get like panic attacks and anxiety attacks to the point where the teachers would say, okay, you do not have to do this because this is causing your body more harm than good. So she would get out of it, which I wasn't to that point where my body would pull some kind of trick and I could get out of speaking because I had to go to the nurse's room or even emergency room. I wasn't quite there, but I did not enjoy it. I even remember in class one time, we had the option to do a presentation or do a video. And I was like, oh, I'm totally doing a video. And not that I liked being on camera that much, but the video sounded so much better than the presentation. And I remember recording the video with my friends, Rebecca and Gina. We had to do a video about a saint. I went to Catholic high school, all girls Catholic high school. So, again, these are the hard hitting topics that we had to present about. And so I chose to do my video on Saint Anthony, the patron saint of lost things. And I remember my friend Gina comes in to the room and she's pretending like she lost her keys. And then I pop out and say, what are you looking for? And then I say, oh, you need to pray to St. Anthony, the patron saint of lost things. And so we pray. And then eventually she ends up finding her keys in the fridge. And actually that checks out because Gina probably would put her keys in the fridge and lose them there. And then at the end, we end with a thumbs up, pan in. I don't know if that's the right term. Pan into our faces and say, thanks, St. Anthony. And it was all one cut. Okay. I'm not very fancy. I didn't have any editing software, but I was really pleased with it. I had fun with it. And I didn't have to do a presentation. So boom, I was excited about that. And then thinking about college, I always struggled with presentations in college. I didn't know if it was maybe my peers, just presenting in front of my peers. It never seemed like they cared that much. People would play on their phones or they wouldn't really make eye contact. I don't know. I just always struggled. And I remember taking Speech 101 my sophomore year of college. We had to take one speech class as an elective. It was a required elective. I looked and scoured ratemyprofessor.com to find the easiest Speech 101 instructor so that I could get an A, even though I was a terrible presenter. And for our first project or speech, we had to give a 4-minute speech on something that influenced us, why we are the way we are today. So I decided to talk about my experience with Hurricane Katrina. I was a senior in high school when Hurricane Katrina hit. This was about 2 years later. And I thought, okay, yeah, that's definitely influenced me. I could fill 4 minutes. And I remember getting up there in front of the class and I'm talking and telling my story and they seem super engaged at first. They're like, whoa, I could see it in the audience's faces. Like they're into it. And then I start to see them kind of drop like, okay. And it's looking like they're a little bored after a while. Well, that's because I ended up speaking for 11 and a half minutes. 4-minute speech. I spoke for 11 and a half minutes. To be fair here, okay, just to be fair to myself, there were no lights, there were no indicators that I had gone over time, except that my audience was giving me lots of feedback that I was going way over the allotted time. And then I would argue that 4 minutes to share a story about something that's influenced you or impacted you and made you who you are today, that is not enough time. Sure, brevity is levity. I should be able to fit it in 4 minutes. That's not enough time to tell you about all my trials and tribulations about Hurricane Katrina. I need more time than that. Honestly, I probably need 30 minutes plus. So 4 minutes, not enough time. I should have probably picked a different topic. Oh, and guess what grade I got on that presentation? I got a B minus. Yeah. So I definitely picked a good instructor that was going to be nice and lenient and still give me my A. And I remember too, our second presentation, we had to do an informative presentation or educational presentation. So I decided I'm going to show people how to do kettlebells or swing the kettlebells. And I think I stay within time. I actually practice for this one. I stick to the outline. I don't go off script and ramble a bunch and go down like a story hole, but I do stay on time. However, I decide to demonstrate how to swing the kettlebell to show them how it's done, how to have the proper form. Well, I didn't realize that, when you swing a kettlebell, you do get out of breath. And then being in front of people, you get extra out of breath. And I did the demonstration in the middle of the presentation. So I'm out of breath for the last part of the presentation. And of course, that freaks me out. And I don't finish well. Just none of those speeches were very good. But I did end up with an A. I ended up with an A in Speech 101, vowed never to take a speech class again. I got my elective, I'm good, and I moved on. But really, I struggled. I struggled throughout undergrad, I struggled throughout grad school, and I just thought, okay, well, maybe it's my peers, when I get to my job, my full-time job, when I get out of school, I'll do much better. And you know what happened? I didn't get much better. I struggled outside of school. I can remember my first job. This is like my first big girl job. This is my dream job. This is the job that I went to grad school for. And in the interview, they asked, this position does give some presentations. How do you feel about giving presentations? And I don't think I lied, but I said, oh, I do presentations. I don't feel great about them afterwards or something like that. Like I could certainly improve, but I like doing them. It's fine. So I gave off the appearance that I can do presentations when really I still struggled with it. So about 3 months into this first job, we get the request for a stress management presentation. I was a wellness coordinator at Blue Cross Blue Shield of South Carolina, and we would do presentations, wellness presentations for departments within the company. We focused on wellness for the BCBSSC employees. And so we would go and give presentations about stress or desk stretches, the wellness program. I actually ended up doing a lot of presentations for them. This one was the first. And so I'm like, okay, I can do this. Stress management, I got this. 20-minute presentation, all good. I'd give all the pep talks. You got this. You're good. You're going to do great. Hands on hips. You are Superwoman. You're Wonder Woman. You're going to do great. Right before the presentation, I stop in the on-site fitness center that we had at that location, and my manager tells me, oh, you're presenting to HR. Well, so-and-so is a distinguished Toastmaster. And I said, I have no idea what that means. What does that mean? I don't know what that sounds really effing official though. Now I'm intimidated. So all the pep talks went out the window. Not that they would have mattered anyway, but they go out the window. I get to the presentation and I just do everything wrong. To be fair, I look back and think, okay, not everything wrong, like 3 things wrong. But at the time, I was like, I did everything wrong. 1, I didn't introduce myself. 2, I didn't introduce my coworker who was sitting in the room. Both of us are new to the company, new to the wellness department. No one knows who we are. I don't say either of our names throughout the whole presentation. So I'm sure they're wondering who these people are. And then 3, I call out how nervous I am. This presentation is about stress management, and I say that public speaking stresses me out. Well, that always tells people right away that you're nervous. And 4, I went way over time. They asked for a 20-minute stress management presentation to start off their department team meeting, and I talked for over 30 minutes. And again, I can see the audience's faces drop and telling me, "Oh, you're going over time." And I just keep going and going. Oh man, I'm reliving it now. So I wrap up, I drive back to my office, and I run to the bathroom and cry. I'm so upset at that point that this issue has followed me to my career. Before that, it was just a school problem. It was just a problem in front of my peers. But now this is affecting my career that I want to do a good job with, that I want to be in for a long time. And it has followed me and it's plagued me. And I'm so upset. So I finally finish crying and I go back to my office, and I remember that my manager mentioned that so-and-so was a distinguished Toastmaster. And I was like, what is this Toastmasters thing? Like, what? I don't know what it is. I kind of know the term, but what do they do? And I realized that my company has a corporate Toastmasters club. I immediately email them, say, can I come as a guest? Can I come check it out? That moment in the bathroom was my last straw moment. I want to inspire and motivate and encourage people to live healthier lives, to make healthier choices. I am not going to do that in my presentations if I'm nervous and rambling through and going over time. I'm going to be so ineffective in what I'm trying to do. That was my last straw moment. I go to the meeting that Thursday. I do a table topics question, or I answer a table topics question. It goes okay. I'm blown away at the level of speakers in this club, at the speeches they give, how they keep a 1-hour meeting going. I think I come one more time as a guest and then I sign up because I realize this is what I need to conquer my fear of public speaking. This is what's going to help me. Before Toastmasters, I thought that I would just magically find this level of confidence. I thought maybe when I'm 35, I won't care what people think, and I'll just have this level of confidence that just shines forth, and I'll be a great presenter. And I don't know why I picked 35. I really don't. This was just this magical age where I thought, in your mid 30s, you just find confidence and you don't care what people think, and you're over what you look like, and you're over what people think about you and judging you. You're just over it all. And, I was 25 at the time, so I guess it was just a 10-year mark for me. I'm not sure. But either way, I couldn't wait till I was 35 to find this magical level of confidence. I had to find it now in order to help my career. So I jump into Toastmasters. This is October 2014. My first speech, which is your icebreaker speech, I say 9 ums and ahs. Actually, that's not bad. When I first heard it, I was like, I said 9 ums and ahs? I had no idea, which I didn't realize. So that became my focal point of I want to get rid of my filler words because that makes me sound like I am not credible, like I don't know what I'm talking about. And so I actually really worked on this. I gave 10 speeches that year. I gave one a month. That was my goal. Give one speech a month. And I remember I would give the speeches or do table topics, and I'd say a filler word, and I could see the grammarian making their little tally mark on the paper, like, so, and just tick, tick. And sometimes I would even stop the presentation because I realized I said it. So it was good awareness. It was a good awareness tool. A little side note, I actually don't think filler words are that bad now. It's good to be aware if you say it, especially if it is excessive, but you don't have to focus on getting rid of filler words in your speech completely. It's actually pretty conversational, so that's not something you have to stress about. I just want to make you aware of that. But when I was first starting out, it gave me something to focus on. It gave me something to be aware of that no one had ever told me I did. So there's a so right there. Filler word number 100, probably. And it doesn't matter. It's all good because we're having a conversation right now. A few years ago in Toastmasters, they've since changed the curriculum, but if you gave 10 speeches, you became a competent communicator, or you reached the competent communicator level. So that was my goal. Give 10 speeches, reach the competent communicator level, be a CC, and then get out. You know, you've accomplished your goal, you've conquered your fear by then, which I did. You know, within that year, I really saw a change in myself. It was pretty much exposure therapy. It forced me to get up in front of people, make a lot of mistakes, learn from my mistakes. It wasn't pretty. It was definitely not pretty, but the group was so supportive that they kept me encouraged to keep going and reach that 10 speech mark. But after I reached 10 speeches, I said, well, I want to keep going because I still feel like I need to have notes in my hand and I want to get rid of notes and feel more comfortable speaking without notes, which really took me about 3 years to feel comfortable to do that. I always wanted my notes with me. So I kept going. I ended up serving in leadership positions in that club, which I never thought I would do. I didn't think of myself as a leader at that point. I didn't They asked me to serve as vice president of public relations. And I thought, I don't know public relations. I don't know how to be a leader. But I said, yes, sure. And also, no one else wanted to do it. So I kind of felt bad and did it anyway. And I was so glad I did. After that, I served as vice president of education for a year. And then I served as president of the club for a year. So 3 years of leadership. And I really saw my leadership skills and my public speaking skills transform. And they were starting to show up in my job too. So it wasn't at Toastmasters that I was using these skills. I was starting to see them in my role now. And I ended up getting promoted to health promotions coordinator. And my coworkers were starting to ask me for advice, and they would ask me to watch their speeches, give them feedback. And it's not that I was a supervisor or manager or anything, but I could tell that this new leadership persona was following me into my job, which was huge for me. Again, I never saw myself as a leader. I didn't think of myself as a leader. And now I was, whether having that management title or not, I was leading in my department, and that was huge for me. To become a distinguished Toastmaster, you have to give about 45 speeches or more, between 45 and 50 speeches. You have to serve several different leadership roles within the organization. And I ended up getting my distinguished Toastmaster designation in October 2019, 5 years after I joined Toastmasters. This was a huge distinction, designation, honor for me to get. I never thought I would be a distinguished Toastmaster. Knowing that they had to give 40 plus speeches and do leadership roles. Again, I was going to do my 10 speeches and get the heck out. And I stayed in it. And I'm actually still in Toastmasters to this day. Now I stay in it to practice my material. And also, I really enjoy the people. I love when people share stories and they get really vulnerable. It's such a special connection. And Toastmasters seems to offer that space where people feel comfortable being vulnerable. And I love being a part of that and seeing someone like me come and be nervous initially, and then they grow and blossom into this amazing speaker that they always were. They just thought they weren't. So I really enjoyed my Toastmasters journey throughout, and I've been in Toastmasters now for 8 years, and I still enjoy it. I have started focusing more on this project and my business now, but I'll always appreciate Toastmasters and what it did for me. It helped that scared girl, in 5th grade who struggled to speak and carried that with her throughout her life. It helped her. It helped me get over my fear of public speaking, which has been incredibly life-changing for me. Now that leads me to improv. And how did I get from Toastmasters to improv? Well, so my husband and I moved out to Los Angeles for his job, and I go to visit a 2-hour free improv workshop at Westside Comedy Theater in February 2019, and I loved it. I had such a blast. It was very simple exercises and games. I had so much fun, and I wanted to sign up for a class, but I was really, really nervous. So I remember telling my husband about the class, and I also wanted us to do it together. My husband is so funny, hilarious, and I just feel like he is going to crush the improv classes. He's going to do so well in them. And then I want to take the improv classes to help my public speaking, to help me with table topics and Toastmasters. Really, that is just my end goal. I just want to be better at impromptu speaking. We finally sign up for a class. We use the Thanksgiving Cyber Monday code to give us $60 off an improv class. And we start taking our Improv 101 class at Westside Comedy Theater in January 2020. We got through our 101 class, did our class show in February 2020. And then we got through 2 classes of Improv 201. And then, of course, womp, womp, womp. We all know what happens. COVID hits, improv moves online. And we just kept taking classes throughout COVID. We had an improv class every week, at least. We didn't really take a break. We took classes at Westside Comedy. We took classes with UCB. We did little practice groups with friends. We were always trying to do some kind of improv each week because we really enjoyed it. Now, that doesn't mean we were good at it. We struggled. We always struggled. And it didn't come natural, but we had a lot of fun and we were meeting some really cool people online. And I have to say, from the start, my love of improv developed, from that first workshop and from Improv 101 class. I've been in improv classes now for about 3 years at this point, and it has been such a game changer in my life. It has pushed me far outside of my comfort zone in the absolute best way possible. It's given me so many life skills, like being present in the moment and listening, having a yes and mindset or growth mindset. It's made me a better speaker and presenter for sure. It's absolutely helped me with my public speaking skills. And also, I think one of the biggest things is it's really helped me to let go of perfection in my public speaking journey. And I'll talk about this later in another episode, but I would get really down on myself after giving presentations and speeches. I just thought I would never get better at it. And improv's kind of helped me to just let go of that. If you make a mistake in a speech, move on. It's helped me to realize that I don't have to be perfectly polished in my presentations either, that I can just be conversational and real. Mistakes will happen, but if you move on and you're not in your head about it, that'll actually make it better and people will see, oh, this is a real person presenting now. And, improv's given me a creative outlet and space that I never had before as an adult. Yes, public speaking was a creative outlet for sure. Toastmasters, definitely a creative outlet. But I never thought of myself as a theater person or performance. And sure, storytelling is absolutely performance based, but I just never labeled myself as that. So to get into improv and work on being a character and using voices and playing someone different from yourself, which I don't do well yet, but I am getting better at, just playing someone else and playing characters, that was huge for me. It's just allowed me to play more. And I don't think we get enough play as adults. And I realize how privileged that sounds too, because sometimes, in life you have to work 2 jobs or you don't have the time to quote unquote play and be creative. But whatever you can do in your life to infuse some kind of play, I think it's so important. It's just really given me this outlet to feel free and be myself more, be more authentic. I am just so glad that I did improv, that I did that workshop, that we signed up for 101, because it started me on this journey that is not over yet, which is where we come to improvly speaking. The term improvly speaking to me means an opportunity to infuse improv with public speaking, which then allows us to explore all the things that come with that: communication, performance, creativity, everything in between. And during the pandemic, I got so tired of the talking head presentations and webinars, which we still have today. And I'm not going to lie, I'm still guilty of the talking head presentations, which is where, you're in your Zoom box or you're up on stage now. We're back in person now. And you're just talking and reading from slides. And it's just like the Charlie Brown teacher, wah, 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 wah. Just a talking head the whole time. And I got so tired of those that I felt, oh, we need to add some of these improv exercises into our team meetings so that we infuse some play and connection. That's what we were missing a lot of during the pandemic, is this connection. And we're still missing that in this hybrid workspace that we're in. So instead of generally speaking, which is those talking head presentations I referred to, improvly speaking is a more fun, exciting, and engaging way to learn and participate in workshops and webinars and presentations. As an audience member, I like when the speaker and presenter tries to engage with the audience, but I think we get so caught up in the regular, easy ways to engage with polls and using the chat. It's like, oh, I just want the audience to experience the exercises. I just want the audience to experience what I'm talking about. And improv and the techniques of improv allow for people to experience these skills through the different exercises. So I'll be talking about this later, but my business is all about doing applied improv workshops and trainings for companies, departments, teams who just need to have more connection. Maybe they're trying to brainstorm an issue. Maybe they work remote or hybrid. They don't get to see each other in person. They don't feel like they have that connection anymore. Or they just want to develop some more essential skills. We always call them soft skills. I believe on LinkedIn, they're labeled as soft skills, but really developing those essential skills that can help you be a better coworker and colleague. I think we can all use a little bit more of that now. And that is what I plan to bring to all these trainings and workshops that I'm doing. So, last question. Why did I want to start this podcast? Well, I have my public speaking podcast that I do with my colleague, Gabe Zickerman, and I really enjoyed that podcast. Honestly, that was my foot in the door in the podcast world, and I would have never done a podcast without Gabe. He had the idea to do it, and I was immediately like, oh no, but no. I'm not ready for that. I could never be a podcaster. I don't know the first thing about podcasting. But he did, and he said, our conversations are really good. We should record them. And I had a blast. I love this medium of podcasting. I love interviewing guests. I love talking to people. I love giving them the space to share their story, share their knowledge and experience. I absolutely love it. Like, how can I do this full time? Sign me up. I want to do it. And what I was realizing is with our public speaking podcast, I wanted to do a lot more improv focus or get more improvisers on, but I didn't know how to hit the public speaking angle as much. And to be honest, I wanted a podcast that had the improvly speaking name to it. That's my business name. That is what I'm focusing on. And I just said, yes, and I want to do this. So here I am. With this podcast, I want to interview 3 different types of guests. One, I want to interview the experienced improvisers, your artistic directors at theaters, people who've been improvising for years and years. They're so good at it. I definitely want to have them on the show. 2, I want to invite people I've met in class who are taking improv to help them with their professional career. Maybe that's why they signed up first, but then it's led to other things, or they're just doing it for fun and to help them in their professional career, and they've seen good results. And 3, I want to interview people who use improvisation in their jobs, but they don't realize it. They don't even think of it as improvising. They just do it. So I want to have them on. I want to have these 3 different types of guests on. I'll do some solo episodes here and there. And, we'll call it the Improvly Speaking Podcast, and we'll have a blast on this journey together. So in all truth and honesty, I thought I would not get through even 20 minutes of my first solo episode. I said, sit down and just record for as long as you can. If you hit 15, 20 minutes, that's great for a solo episode. Well, it's now around 50 minutes here that I've been talking, which I guess is consistent with my ability to speak over time that I've done in multiple presentations. And I know my friend Craig is probably rolling his eyes right now going, you speak over time all the time. So I'm still working on that. But you got the full story. You got the really long-winded story. I hope you enjoyed it. We started at 5th grade and we've gotten all the way up to year 34 now. So that's the full story. I will dive a little deeper into different aspects and lessons learned from my journey in other solo episodes. But I'm really excited. I'm excited to have you on. I'm excited to have you as part of this journey. Thanks for listening this far. So I'll close it out here. And I just want to say again, thank you for starting this journey with me. And I want to encourage you to reach out to me with any thoughts or ideas that came up as we were talking. But, maybe you have a similar story or a similar fear of public speaking. How did you conquer it? I'd love to hear. You can reach out to me at Dana, DAYNA, at improvryspeaking.com. Let me know how you've gotten through your journey. And also let me know if there are any roadblocks or obstacles. Maybe there's something you're struggling with in your journey. It doesn't have to be a public speaking journey, whatever journey you're on. What obstacles are you hitting, and how can we work through those obstacles together? Also, I want to invite you to reach out to me on social media. You can follow me on Instagram at improvly speaking or on LinkedIn at Dana Gowan. And my website is improvlyspeaking.com. All right, first episode in the books. Check out the rest of the episodes. Again, thanks everyone for listening and supporting Improvly Speaking. I will talk to you next time.